Part 2c. These desires, as they exist in the mind of your prospect today, are indistinct. They are blurs, hazy, ambiguous, not yet crystallized into words or images. In most cases, they are simply vague emotions, without compulsion or direction. And as such, they have only a fraction of their true potential power. Your job is to fill out these vague desires with concrete images, to show your prospect every possible way that they can be fulfilled, to multiply their strength by the number of satisfactions that you can suggest to achieve them. A copywriter's first qualifications are imagination and enthusiasm. You're literally the script writer for your prospect's dreams. You are the chronicler of his future. Your job is to show him in minute detail all the tomorrows that your product makes possible for him. This is the core of advertising, its fundamental function. To take an formulated desire and translate it into one vivid scene of fulfillment after another. To add the appeal of concrete satisfaction after satisfaction to the basic drive of that desire. To make sure that your prospect realizes everything, that he is getting everything, that he is now leaving behind him everything that he may possibly be missing. The sharper you can draw your pictures and the greater the number of them that you can legitimately present, the more your prospect will demand your product, and the less important will seem your price. How much space can you give to this process of intensification? This depends on two factors: the amount of space allotted to you for the entire ad, and the number of ways you can present your images without giving the feeling of repetition or boredom. First of all, different media demand different treatments. For example, catalogs, small space newspaper and magazine advertising, radio and television strictly limit the number of words given to you to draw your images. To fit your message into their structures, you must use either or both of two techniques. The first is compression, the boiling down of projections and images into a few keywords. And the second is the campaign, the repetition of these keywords over and over again, along with a progression of embellishments and differentiations through an entire series of advertisements. We shall see how this is done, in detail, at the end of this chapter. On the other hand, large space newspaper and magazine advertising and especially direct mail give you adequate room, in most cases, to present a full story in these media. The decision as to length depends far more on the second factor, the number of ways you can present your images, without giving the feeling of repetition or boredom. No matter what you do, your prospect will take with him only one basic idea, one dominant image from your ad. But with every additional new and different way that you can present that idea, it becomes sharper and more real in your prospect's mind, and it builds up more and more emotional weight. Thus the problem becomes one of perspective, of fresh viewpoints, of new and different detail. Of walking around your product in your imagination, and presenting it to your prospect in every way in which it enters his life. You are working against two opposing forces. The first, as in your headline, is the amount of material which has already been presented to your prospect about similar products in other ads. There are stages of market sophistication to be dealt with in body copy as well as in your headline. If your prospect has read the same phraseology before, he will be bored by it, no matter where he encounters it again. And the second obstacle is the phraseology of your own ad. Once you have presented your basic fulfillment in a certain way, then you must vary your viewpoint in your second description, or not present it again. Otherwise you will lose your reader in the middle of your ad. You cannot repeat, but you can reinforce. And every time the same basic promise is given a fresh setting for your prospect, it reinforces the descriptions that went before it, and makes your prospect that much more determined to participate. The presenting of a series of fresh, new and different fulfillments for your prospect's dominant desire. Our first mechanism of persuasion is called intensification. It takes many forms, with many more certainly to be invented. We will list some of them here, giving the complete copy examples, to show how they have been worked out, to deal with specific copy problems. Our illustrations in this part of the book will be drawn mostly from mail order. The reason for this is simple. Mail order advertising must accomplish its sale from a single ad, without relying on the cumulative force of the campaign, and without help from product display or salespeople. Therefore, mail order tries to present as much of the complete story as possible at one time. These same techniques apply equally well to all forms of advertising. But there they are usually quite compressed, and their purpose and structure was not quite so apparent. And driving the fish around you into such a frenzy with its swimming and its buzzing, that they practically tear the rod out of your hands. They're so anxious to get their mouths into the hook. Bring in the reader 3. Or, if your product lends itself to this kind of treatment, put your reader right smack in the middle of this product in action story, and give him a verbal demonstration of how it will happen to him the first day he owns the product. For example, this passage from an ad selling a power booster for the average car. Picture this to yourself. Next weekend you go down to your car, the same tired car that you've been driving for years. You've made only one simple change to the car, so easy that your 16-year-old son could do it. But now, when you turn on the ignition, a modern miracle of engineering science comes to life under your hood. From the very first moment, you'll see and feel the difference in that engine. When you release the emergency brake, your car will glide out of its parking space, roll down the street with your foot hardly touching the gas pedal. Every 30 or 40 seconds, you'll give that car an extra shot of gas, feeling it spurt ahead, testing the new power that's singing underneath your foot. We ask you to pull up to another car at the stoplight of approximately the same year and make as your own. Wait until the light changes from red to green. Let the other car start first. Wait till the other car gets halfway across the street. And then slam your foot down on the gas pedal. Before the other car has even crossed the street, you will have caught up with him. For one brief second, you and that other car will race fender to fender. And then you will flash away from him. You will leave him a full block behind. You will look in your rear-view mirror, and see the startled look of amazement on the other driver's face. Show him how to test your claims for. But there is still more room to expand the image along these lines. Turn the demonstration into a test. let your reader visualize himself proving the performance of your product, gaining its benefits immediately in the most specific and dramatic way possible. For example, in this ad, selling a new kind of spark plug. When you get your set of Sawfire LJECTORS. If you have an automatic transmission, make a note of how fast your car crawls forward when it is in the drive position, with the motor idling. If you have a sports car, a racing car or boat, make a note of the RPMs as indicated on the tachometer, when the engine is idling. If you have regular transmission, put your car in low gear on a level road, and notice its speed with the motor idling. Next, screw your injectors right into the spark plug openings. Now, if you have an automatic transmission, put your car in drive and let your engine idle. If your car stood still with spark plugs, it will now move forward at from 4 to 6 miles an hour. That means that the amount of gas that just kept your engine turning over will now carry you up to 6 miles at no cost to you. If you have a racing or sports car or boat with a tachometer, your RPMs will increase up to 200 more at idling and up to 300 more at high speeds. If you have regular transmission, in low gear with your motor idling, your car will move forward 4 to 6 miles per hour faster. In other words, no matter what you drive, here is absolute proof that you can go further, faster and cheaper. Or, as another example, this demonstration test from an ad selling a memory course, with a headline, "Give me one evening and I'll give you a push-button memory." Take this book and turn to page 39. Read 8 short pages, no more. And then, put down the book. Review in your own mind the one simple secret I've shown you. And then get ready to test your new automatic memory. What you are going to do, in the very first evening, is this. Without referring to the book, you are going to sit down, and you are going to write not 5, not 10, but 20 important facts that you have never been able to memorize before. If you are a businessman, they may be customers' orders that you have received. If you are a salesman, they may be 20 different products in your line. If you are a housewife, they. In any case, you are simply going to glance over that list again for a few moments. You are going to perform a simple mental trick on each one of these facts that will burn that fact into your mind permanently and automatically. And then you are going to put that list away. And the next morning, you are going to amaze your friends and family. When you go down to business, you will attend to every one of those orders automatically, without referring to your memo pad. Yes. And you'll amaze your friends by remembering every product in your line backwards and forwards in the exact order that you memorized them. You'll keep every single appointment on time, because one appointment will automatically flash into your mind after another at the precise moment you need them, exactly as though you pushed a mental button. All this in a single evening. Stretch out your benefits in time. 5. The number of variations, of fresh, startling viewpoints is endless. Here is another departure from the product in action theme, showing the product at work, not for just an hour or a day, but over a span of weeks and months. Here you extend your reader's vision further and further into time, showing him a continuous flow of benefits. This passage is taken from an ad for an English plant food. First, the amazing English pellets give your plants a tremendous new burst of growth. New plants and old, they send out dozens of hidden shoots and buds. Some of your plants may actually double in height and breadth the very first month. But this is just the beginning. Within 1 or 2 short weeks, without your even touching your plant, this amazing pellet automatically begins the second stage of its work. It automatically sends out a second wonder-working nutrient that enters into even cell of your plant's bodies, that fills those cells with health and strength and sturdiness. Great, tall stems stand up with military precision. Giant buds begin to swell with vigor and vitality. Even tired old shrubs and trees that you had almost given up or lost begin to straighten out, fatten up, send out the green growth that you had never hoped to see again. And then, the most remarkable part of all. Just as these fantastically beautiful plants have reached their full, glorious height and strength at that moment, these tiny English pellets automatically liberate still a third wonder-working ingredient. And when that third precious ingredient reaches those buds, then, that very morning you will open the door to your house and you will be blinded by the explosion of color that greets you in your garden. You will see rose bushes weighted down with masses of blossoms, of richness and perfume and color you have never imagined before. You will see dahlias and asters and gladiolus so massive, so exquisite, so breathtakingly beautiful, that you can hardly believe that they are the same plants that you put in the ground. And when your neighbors begin to pour into your yard, when you watch them bend and touch these flowers to see if they are real, then you will know a feeling of garden accomplishment and pride that you never dreamed of before. Bring in an audience. 6. At the end of this passage, other actors besides the reader are brought into the scene. Each group of them provides a fresh new perspective, through which your reader can view the product. Seen through their eyes, experienced through their actions and reactions, the product performances become new, vivid and completely different again. These new participants may be celebrities, who relate their experiences through the testimonial. This technique is too familiar to warrant an example here. Or they may be average men and women, whom the reader easily identifies with, whose experiences are related through narration or the case history. Probably the most famous example of a narration is the "They Laughed When I Saturday Down at the Piano" ad quoted in the first section of this book. Here, as an example of the case history approach, we use a passage from a reducing ad. And then, if you were like the men and women, whose fantastic case histories were reported by leading medical journals, perhaps you went to your doctor, and asked him for an easy way out without torturing, without sliding back. These doctors had the answer in a tiny gray pill and a common-sense plan. They instructed dozens of patients to test this miracle plan in their own homes, under these doctors' supervision. These men and women did not give up the foods they loved, they simply and naturally cut down on them. They were not given any starvation diets. They reported, in case after case, that they felt more pep, more energy, more youth and vitality than they had known for years. And then, day by day, faster and easier and safer than they had ever known before, the ugly excess fat around their bodies melted away. While they were eating 3 delicious meals a day, they were shedding as much as 5 pounds a week. While they were feasting on mouth-watering steaks, thick juicy slices of roast beef, potatoes, butter and bread, they were losing inch after inch after inch from around their waistlines, their thighs, their hips. Clothes that they had discarded years before began to come out of the closets and attics. Men and women both they beamed to notice a new young look to their chins and faces that they'd thought they'd lost forever. And when the plan was over, these men and women had lost as much as 17 and 25 and even 34 pounds. They had turned back their weight clock 5, 10 and even 15 years. And their trim, slim figures were just beginning. Show experts are proving 7. But not only celebrities and ordinary people can be used to reaffirm the product benefits. Experts in the FCLD, professionals, the sophisticated, the discriminating, the blaze, can be called on to register their reactions. There is nothing so astounding as the astonishment of experts. Here the elements of surprise, competition and discovery all combine to sharpen the image even more. This example is taken from the rose ad mentioned above. Just picture the scene as these college horticulturists began this amazing flowering test of roses. For here gathered in a test field were all the high-praised queens of rosedom. Floribundas, hybrid teas, polynthes, patented roses and rose blends, that today sell low as high as $3.75 for a single plant. Row upon row of roses. Prize winners in international competition. The best the world has to offer. And then, Nearly Wild started to bloom. Just picture the astonishment on these experts' faces when in the first month alone, Nearly Wild produced over 15 times more blossoms than the average of all other roses combined, how in July alone it produces an average of 50 new roses a day, more than 7 times as many blossoms as the second leading rose. How in August it produced 21 times more roses than its nearest competitor, and then went on. Is it any wonder that a famous rose expert, upon viewing the results of this test, exclaimed, "Why, it's like having a complete rose garden of 20 plants all on a